Hi, my name is Marshall Norris, and I chose the topic of gender differences in reading class between boys and girls because it's something that I deal with on a daily basis. I've taught reading for 14 years now, and I've seen a lot of differences in the way that boys and girls both achieve certain aspects of their reading program. The title of mine is called Gender Differences in Reading Achievement, Stereotyped or a Real Concern. My three articles I found through the Fort Hays State Library database. They were all scholarly articles that were peer-reviewed. The first one was called Issues in the Change of Gender Differences in Reading Achievement in Cross-National Research Studies since 1992. A meta-analytic view, studies in educational evaluation. The second one was called Investigating Gender Differences in Reading, and it was found in the Educational Review. And the third one is Are Girls Better Readers Than Boys? Which Girls? And it was found in the Canadian Journal of Education. Summary of the first article. This article basically discusses how there is a consistent observation that girls on average surpass boys in their reading abilities, given the importance of reading with regard to educational and individual development, both within school and later in life. It's not surprising that concern regarding the gender gap in reading achievement, what might explain it, and how best to respond to it appear to be widespread. Numerous explanations have been offered for these differences. Recent explanations often lead towards biological theories that emphasize that gender differences in favor of girls are rooted in differential brain wiring, maturation rates, and chemistry. They're based on the belief that boys and girls are so biologically different, they require specific gender strategies to avoid the effects of what are considered feminized educational structures in practice. This case study found that boys aren't really necessarily doing worse in reading, but rather that girls have improved their performances faster, leading to the belief that boys are falling behind. In this case, underachievement may be partly a matter of perspective. As a result, any news that girls may be surpassing boys may be used to support and promote stereotypical education or ideological beliefs. Regardless of the findings in this article, it was really apparent that some changes need to be made in the way we regard gender education. The next article was basically discussing how boys perform better than girls in math and science, while girls perform better in reading, social studies, and languages. However, they cut it apart a little bit and closer examined the research on reading, and it revealed that the matter is not quite as clear-cut as one might think. Results can be grouped into two main categories, one that shows evidence of girls' superiority over boys in reading, and one providing little or no evidence of gender differences. This article also discusses the National Assessment of Educational Progress, the NAEP. This is an assessment program run by the United States Department of Education. They have conducted studies in a number of subject areas, including reading, to assess achievement levels of nationally representative student samples in grades 4, 8, and 12. In the most recent reading test design, students were assessed on 4 different aspects of reading, which I will discuss here in a few minutes. For more than 35 years, the NAEP has been called the nation's report card in the U.S. These studies provide inconclusive evidence with regard to the extent of gender differences in reading. And these were the 4 items that they were actually tested on in reading: forming a general understanding, developing interpretation, relating information in text to own knowledge and experience, examining content and structure. My third article, Investigating Gender Differences Within Reading. This investigates the differences found within boys and girls in the subject of reading. Again, there is some evidence to suggest that boys and girls have naturally different reading strategies and may benefit from different types of reading instruction. Results have shown that when taught the analytic phonics, girls had better reading comprehension, better spelling, and equivalent word reading scores than boys. However, in the group of children taught by synthetic phonics, boys had better word reading, equivalent spelling, and reading comprehension scores. This study may be informative as to the type of reading instruction and learning environment to which boys may be more suited. There are a number of characteristics of a synthetic phonics method which may lend themselves to boys' natural learning. First, it suggested that the synthetic phonics may be easier to focus attention on or may be less reliant on skills acquired before school. So this may benefit boys if they have poorer attention or if they start school less equipped with reading readiness skills. Second, it suggested that there are different cognitive skills underpinning children's word recognition when they learn by a synthetic phonics approach. And third, synthetic phonics fosters early integration of phonological and visual information, something which boys are not inclined to do naturally. Finally, synthetic phonics places a strong emphasis on phonics rules and teaches children to use a ruled, governed phonological approach to reading, which may be more in line with the boys' natural reading styles. It's important to consider gender as a context in which children's learning and development occurs. Within the classroom environment, all children receive the same literacy instruction. Differences in attention, interest, and preference for different types of classroom activities may mean that boys and girls spend different amounts of time engaged in literacy activities. Children's attitudes to reading, motivation, and reading frequency may also potentially provide explanations for the consistent gender differences observed in reading. So after reading all three of these articles, this is kind of my take on the information. Information from these articles clearly presents that there is a difference within boys and girls' reading needs. Boys and girls both learn best in different ways. This really isn't a new idea. I think it's important for educators to realize there's not a one-size-fits-all method when it comes to learning. Students enter our classrooms with different personalities, abilities, motivations, backgrounds, races, sexes, and learning styles. Every child learns differently because every child is different. The problem lies in the fact that most reading programs tend to cater to one teaching style. Currently, that style seems to benefit girls more than boys. As a reading specialist, these are the types of issues that I'd like to focus on in our classrooms. What can we do to provide a more equal learning experience for all of our students? These are things that I feel like we as educators can do. My job as a reading teacher is to reach all of my readers, whether they're struggling, gifted, male, female, etc. Below is a list of items that teachers can work on in the classroom, things that I've really been trying to focus on this year after taking all of these courses. Tailoring instruction to meet individual needs. Teaching in a number of ways and assessing through a variety of means. Incorporating Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence. Focusing more on finding books that both girls and boys will be interested in. We do novel units still. We try to do a couple in a year, and I've really focused on novels for the girls that they will be interested in and novels for the boys in reading groups that they will be interested in and be able to focus and stick with me and enjoy what they're doing. Model reading. I want to show my students the importance of reading and how it can have a positive impact on their lives. This is something I've really been focusing on this year, is showing the kids that I also feel it's important to read. And if I have them read, I try to stop and I try to read myself as well. And then basically just furthering your education, being willing to learn. I'm taking all these classes right now for my master's, and I feel like I've learned so much since I originally was in school the first time here a few years ago. What can parents do to help close this gap? For boys, they can be encouraged to turn off the screen, their video games, TVs, and all that, and read. Boys should also be engaged in dialogue. Do not let them get away with shrugs and grunts. And I've seen this in my own children. My daughter would talk my ear off and always explain everything. And I felt like her vocabulary and her language was so much better, whereas my son kind of shrugs and answers with one word. So we try to have him use sentences. Boys should also be encouraged to engage in caregiving activities like tutoring younger children or babysitting. A couple things that we can do with girls: they should be encouraged to play sports and building games that can improve spatial abilities, and they should be given a range of math and science opportunities and encouraged to compete. So just a few ideas on how to keep them both making sure they can do their best. In the articles that I chose, I basically learned that differences in gender education have been stereotyped over the years. Yet there is still a need for some actual concern. There is still so much we don't know about the human brain and the differences in the male and the female. The more we learn, though, the greater potential for every girl and boy to develop a limitless range of talents and passions. We as educators must learn to give each individual what they need to be successful in life, whether society stereotypes gender differences or whether they actually do exist. We must find a way to reach every child, boy or girl. And that's it.